hail and welcome to the Temporary Stand and its podcast number 24. Same old this week. We have myself, Marty and Richie, and we have a look back at the weekend's convincing win over Inverness. We laud the contribution of Twarzik Mott while we bemoan the inclusion of Mo Bangura. Was it the wrong one? We go over a week old ground and look at Helsinborgs win last Tuesday and who in fact would been shitting. Get sidetracked looking at the Ajax game in 2001 before having a wee small chat about hopes and fears as the infamous transfer window closing day gets closer and closer. So we hope you enjoy, and there's nothing left to do but see you on the other side.
Thanks very much for coming to speak to me. It's just past 9 o'clock on Sunday night. It's a Temporary Stand podcast number 24, and on the line from sunny Cambuslang, Rutherglen is Scotty.
How you doing, lads?
Too bad. And all the way from sunny Meath. Are you Meath or Louth, Richie?
Technically both.
Technically both.
Geographically, I'm in Meath.
Well, all the way from technically both, it's Richie.
How you doing?
And technically, I'm no for Rutherglen at all.
I know, where are you from? Just Cambuslang?
It's Cambuslang. Place it.
Cambuslang.
We wouldn't have you.
Alright, we'll hear all the way from People's Republic of West Belfast is Marty, but thanks very much for coming together with us last night. Decent weekend, I suppose. Good crack up above in Inverness. Desperate squad from which Lennon had to pick from. He had very, very limited choices, Scott, but made the most of the players he had at his disposal. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, when have we ever went up to Inverness and gave them a doing? It's kind of, we've always struggled. Even when we've won, we've always won by the odd goal here and there. For the boys that come in, I mean, Twarzik had a smashing game without ever being like stunning. Like, don't get me wrong, he never come in and done an Aidan McGeady, but he was very, very effective, very confident in the ball. And obviously Tony Watt, I've no doubt we'll be talking about Tony Watt quite a lot on this podcast and future podcasts.
Absolutely. Certainly if he keeps playing the way he played yesterday, then he's going to be a weekly topic. Richie, I don't want to go on to Tony Watt just yet, but I'd like to talk, I suppose Scott got in before me there, just to raise the performance of young Twarzik yesterday. What was your thoughts?
Oh, he was impressive, definitely. He looks, like Scott says, really comfortable in the ball, confident, plays some lovely passes, got a nice touch. So he definitely looks like he's got a load of potential. I'm surprised we've never seen him before now. Definitely a good addition to the squad, especially with Keys moved out. The guy looks like he can pick out a pass and he's got a bit of composure about him. So I was delighted to see him play, and he's definitely somebody you'd expect will play in the SPL this season for us at least.
There seemed to be there was actually an incident late on in the second half where Wanyama had sort of tried to clear the lanes. He was playing behind Swardik, and he loafed the ball. He sort of half caught his foot, but Swardik stopped the ball brilliantly with one touch and was ready to pass it out to the wing to Azagiri right away. He seems to me to be a very comfortable player. Would you agree?
Technically he's definitely a good. He's good technically. His touch was good. He just looks like he's so comfortable in the ball, which is unusual to see. A lot of our players aren't comfortable in the ball. You can tell. Guys like Scott Brown, who are technically know the best, their strengths are in other areas. So it's definitely great to see that. And I don't know, if that's what the kind of thing they're teaching them at Lennoxtown or in the youth, in the youth ranks. Hopefully it is, and we're getting some players who just now with a bit of intelligence and who can use the ball and are comfortable in it. I think the guy will have to get a nickname though. I don't even have a clue how to pronounce his surname, so that's one thing we'll have to work on.
Yeah, well, we'll throw that out to the listeners of the Temporary Stand. You can always get us at Temporary Stand on Twitter. So if you have any nicknames for the young fella who's stamping his place in midfield at the minute, do drop us a line and let us know. Scott, to move back to the football, midfield, I suppose, pulled the side together yesterday. But as you raised earlier, the beauty was really up front with one of our own younger players, Tony Watt. Very impressive, isn't he?
Yeah. He was, in fairness, a load of the podcasts and Celtic fans that you're meeting up and down are going, why is the boy not getting his chance? Why is the boy not getting his chance? And many times we've seen it in the past where somebody comes on, scores a couple of goals, and then honestly they disappear. But this is 2 games in the bounce that he's come on, in the league, that he's come on, and his directness makes him a standout. See his first goal, right? Again, I know we're going to come and we'll probably talk about it, but his first goal was a striker's goal. His first goal was what Gary Hooper was doing. I mean, Gary Hooper, it's not a criticism of Gary Hooper. I like Gary Hooper. Maybe I've overrated him. However, I remember when Mark Viduka left Celtic and went to Leeds, your man David O'Leary says he's playing at 70%. I think that's what Gary Hooper looks like he's doing. It looks like he's playing at 70%. He's playing within himself. And Tony Watt's directness is making him look like he's not trying. I would never accuse a football player of not trying. I mean, these guys are going to, and God, I played 10 minutes a day and I think I touched the ball 3 times. But these guys, Tony Watt is kind of showing him up a wee bit. I was going to come on last week and I never managed on, but I was going to come on and talk about Tony Stokes, and Tony Stokes gets a lot of criticism for his lack of effort. And then you kind of get guys like Tony Watt and Twarzy. And fair dues, we're only playing Inverness, do you know what I mean? But the guy looks, the guy should be in the team every league game. Fair dues, if we're going to go in Europe and it's a tough away game, we're going to play Samaras and we play our team to control the game here, there, whatever. But in the league, Tony Watt starts. In my opinion, every game he should be starting. Let's make this guy, instead of saying, oh, the guy just disappeared, let's make this guy a good striker. I mean, if he was playing with Dundee United, he'd have been in the team 2 years ago. If he was playing with Motherwell, he'd have been in the team 2 years ago. We'd all be sitting here. I said it last time I was on. Johnny Russell, a Dundee fan saying to me, these guys are as good as the Johnny Russells and the Mackay Stevens and the Good Willies. But we don't breed them. We don't let them flourish. And I'm glad to see we're getting a wee bit of repayment in Tony Watt.
But Richie, the pick Scott up there and what he's saying about giving you the chance, is it, I suppose, does the responsibility for that fall back on the fans, because we kind of demand, that star strikers are brought in or star players are brought in above and beyond what we're bringing through? I suppose what I'm getting at is the financial necessities now where we can't do that anymore, so young lads like Watt are going to get a chance.
Well, increasingly I'd say that we're going to be giving youth a chance, but it's also helped with the fact that it's a one-horse race for the league now, so the pressure's not as on and the fans are a bit more relaxed, because in the past Celtic fans have ruined guys, by being hard. Now, Mary McGeady took it tight from pretty much from he broke into the first team. There was guys who constantly were on his back, and I don't think that might have affected him. There was other guys. We've brought through loads of strikers in the past who people have gave abuse to. Mark Burchell used to get a lot of abuse. Mark Burchell wasn't a great player, but he did take dogs abuse from certain sections of support. So I think having no Rangers will help as well as the fact that we're not going to be buying a lot of players. But I also think that Celtic have got their act together a wee bit when it comes to youth, and we're getting players through who, they're looking for different things now. And we're getting players through. I mean, Tony Watt is very good technically as well. And I know we didn't bring him through. He's a product from Airdrie, but we're looking for that kind of player, So, I mean, guys like that should be able to come into the team and fit in anyway. So, but I definitely think we'll see those two, and I don't know. Yeah, and then the boy Slane come on at Ross County, and he didn't get much of a chance. So, I mean, Lennon obviously raced him as well, so we're interested to see if he comes through. But I agree with Scott, like Tony Watt should be starting most SPL games. I don't quite agree about Gary Hooper. I was a bit hard on him, I think. I don't like Tony Watt said after the game that he pretty much showed his performance to him. He talked him through it, and maybe Lennon might have said, let him take the lead and you just kind of talk him through it. We've got Wednesday night coming up, that kind of thing. So that's the way I saw Hooper's performance anyway.
Fair dues, Richie. Fair dues. To come back with what you were saying there, it's Maria Bra. When you brought, he's been to a few underage games, and he's been to the under 20 whatever thing division and cups and stuff like that. And he always picks out a couple of bodies. But what he said to me is they all look very comfortable on the ball, and they move the ball around to how would be the kind of in style of football. Do you know what I mean? Everybody wants to recreate how Barcelona play. We keep a hold of the ball, and when we don't have the ball, we put hundreds and hundreds of pressure, and our short passes are always crisp into a man. And it's been kind of worrying how that never progresses to the first team.
But just to pick you up on that, Scott, what it seemed to me was over the last 10 years, you had a procession of players like Ross Wallace and Simon Ferry, who were technically class, but were tiny. Well, you saw Tony Watt yesterday, just before the goal, completely shrugging his guy, beating his guy and leaving him on his arse. So it seems to me that they are looking for, I suppose, for players who aren't just technical, but who have that bit more about them, really, than has been standard, I suppose, at Celtic for the last 10 years. Would you agree, or do you see something completely maybe that I'm not seeing?
Well, I'd heard from somebody who worked at Queen's Park that Celtic had stopped taking boys under 5'9", unless they were exceptional. And I must admit, I agree with yourself. We seem to bring out a procession, but that's no kid ourselves. Sean Maloney was a smashing football player. If he wasn't made of chocolate, he would be a superstar. But the boy's made of chocolate. Do you know what I mean? Jamie Smith, aye, fair dues. I know what you're saying. You've got Ross Wallace. They went on and had decent careers for themselves, but I don't know. Maybe that pressure takes off the pressure, like Richie was saying, that Celtic are now not under. But ultimately, we are under that pressure because there's more pressure to win every game and no slip-ups like Ross County. I mean, I heard last week, I don't think we've spoke about it since. Did you mention it last week where the boys were saying this is the worst game they've ever seen? It's the worst result in Celtic's history, coming out to Ross County. I mean,
who said that?
That was our mates on the Vogue bus were saying that there was guys wanting Lennon sacked.
Jesus.
Guys, and we'll come and talk about that statement as well. Now I'm thinking about it, but there seems to be. I mean, Leo Lennon should be sacked, and it was one of the worst results in our history, drawing 1 each with Ross County up there.
No, well, we had actually talked about last week. I remember raising a similar issue, which was really early in the season each year there seems to be a result like that. And I was going right back to Livingston. I think in O'Neill's second year, I think we drew it on the Vale. I think we only got a draw by a penalty. So to me, it didn't seem any sort of a worrying result at all.
Oddity, no. But look at the guy, Gary Mackay-Steven, 5'9", a winger, a wee dinky guy. Then you've got the boy Johnny Russell. He's hardly built like a tank, is he? And Celtic fans are going do well, but these boys seem to get them in. I'd like to say, hopefully Scotland's coming into line with everybody else that your height, but your ability is more important. Because I mean, for years, look at some of the guys who played football for Scotland, international for Scotland, just because they're big, bully guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Matt Elliott and people like that.
Oh yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. I don't know. It's maybe I'm being idealistic about Celtic. I mean, we all want to see our own coming through and do well. Richie's right. That puts a lot of pressure back on the young guys. I mean, like Mo Bangu he's been let off the leash, isn't he? Really, everybody keeps going, aye. And maybe you've just got to cut it as soon as he's no performing. Just say, right, this guy's no good. This guy's shot. But I don't know.
We'll come back to Bangura, but Richie, just before we move away from this, the chat that we're having about, I suppose, sort of emerging youth players, one of them who has absolutely stapled himself into the team, who wouldn't have been thought of as a natural player, is Charlie Mulgrew. Got in amongst the goals again yesterday, but started off as a left back, but he's 6'2".
Well, I mean, in Scotland, I suppose the guys got a good left foot, so we'll stick him out left. That might be the thing behind it, no thinking that maybe this guy's good on the ball, therefore he could be a centre half and start off play like they do on the continent, But I mean, Charlie Mulgrew, he was good. He was decent enough on Saturday, I suppose, although he wasn't really tested. But he's had a slow start to the season. But like I said earlier on the earlier podcast, he started off last season pretty poorly as well, and he came onto a game when the rest of the team did. I don't know if it was because the team started playing well he did, or the other way around. But I mean, I don't agree, Marty, what you were saying there about Ross Wallace and Simon Ferry, guys like that being technically good. I think the guys would have an aspect of being technically not very good. Ross Wallace he's got a decent left foot and he's tricky, but he wouldn't have a good first touch or anything like that. Simon Ferry, I don't really know much about him. He never played many first team games. I've seen him on Sky Sports News there. He got a guy sent off at the weekend there, but I don't think he was a technically good player. I think their problem was that the players weren't technically good. Bopcho, Chris Hay, all these guys, rubbish first touch, and gave the ball away constantly, which was always our problem. and that's why guys like Twarzik, and you're hoping, I know Scott's talking about Johnny doing his scouting, and Jackson Irvin, he rates him highly as well.
Right.
And
He's on the bench yesterday.
Was he? Yeah. He got in. And obviously this tournament we're playing in, the youth tournament, European clubs, next generation it's called. I reckon that might have, been a big boost for these players as well, playing against and our coaches, to swap ideas, and see what other guys are doing, watching them train, see how these guys play football. So I think that's a massive thing for us to be. We should be in that every year. That's definitely a great thing for the club.
It sort of takes away, I suppose, the mystique element of it. If we come up against these players playing for other clubs, we've already played them at some stage, so that broad mystique about players doesn't really exist. If you're playing against the likes of the next Messi when you're 12, 13, 14, they're probably not just as frightening as they would be when you're 21. Is that the thinking behind it?
Well, the thinking behind it is just to, it's not about necessarily winning these competitions, because even the big teams have got better players because they steal players off of smaller clubs all the time. Chelsea stole that guy off of us. So I don't think that we're ever going to win next generation or anything like that, but that's not what it's about. It's about getting these guys experience against technically good players, different systems, that kind of stuff, rather than playing, the kind of 6 foot guys we're talking about for Inverness under 19s or whatever. I can't imagine they're particularly good, considering some of the tackles that were flying in on Saturday, and Tony Watt in the first 10 minutes, he might not even score these 2 goals because that guy, the terrible tackle that guy should have been a red. And I'd rather we were playing against Barcelona and getting beat 2-0 than beating Inverness 5 at Barrafield and, getting big Ross Tokley wannabes booting us up and down the place.
No, I think that's a very fair point, and they could have been doing with Ross Tokley yesterday, seeing how he played against us last week.
To come back with what Richie was saying there, I totally agree with what his point there with regards to the next gen. International football like Brazil and Argentina and even Spain, they use these tournaments, right? While these countries go on and actually compete in them, they use them to get their players ready for the first international team. Brazil are doing it now. That's how they were so gutted about the Olympics. This was supposed to be the basis of this their World Cup team, the Olympic team. So as much as they wanted to win it, it's all about building. Whereas Scotland as a country, we don't use it. How many guys? Davy Hanna get about 4 million caps for the under 21s, and I think he got 1 cap for the full team. That sums up the Scottish mentality, and the fact we're changing it. These tournaments are changing that ideal about it, and it's looking to get. Barcelona have changed the script for everybody. Barcelona have. When you go and look at Barcelona's squad now, and it's not that big because they always get the trust in their young players, and hopefully we'll start progressing. Now, obviously, we're never going to hit the same heights as Barcelona, but to bring guys in and be confident in them and allow them to play every week, it should be your aim.
But it's just to go back on what Richie was saying there, which sort of ties up with the point about Barcelona. Those teams aren't coming up against players every week who are absolutely hammer throwers. Like you saw some of the tackles going on yesterday against our players in sort of non-dangerous areas. They weren't sort of round the box. They're middle of midfield, straight in, studs up. Players arse over tit. The whole Scottish framework of football to me is bust. And Celtic are doing great work at Lannistown, but it's not really being matched by anybody out beyond that, is it?
Marty, but this has come and saying something we don't really know.
Well, you can tell by the players. If you look at the players that are coming through, you've got the odd gem on the odd team, and they're usually teams like Dundee United who sort of take their youth systems fairly seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say the same for Inverness or Hearts, even clubs like that.
Money in it.
You can't see, yeah, but I suppose my attitude is this is at a time when your football system's broke. That's when you're going to give youth a chance. You saw it with Hibs when they went bust, sort of 10 years ago. And you had that whole flurry of players that came through. It's very, very strange.
In fairness to Inverness, you think about it, every club is now going for anybody, and every young player's now get a wee bit more chance than they had 10 years ago to go and make it as a professional football player. Because, my young cousin just signed for Airdrie, and the Airdrie, to get him to sign, they were talking about him bursting into first team. The boy's only 15, and they're talking about, if you do this and that, you'll be in the first team by 17. So playing football now is that I don't mean easier as in downplaying these guys' achievements. So you think about it, you're a young guy at 15, and Inverness want you, Hibs want you, Hearts want you. Are you going to go to Inverness? Are you really? You know what I mean? You're not going to go. So it must be really, really hard for Inverness to kind of try and build an academy. I totally agree with what you're saying. I totally agree. My point to you was, we don't know what Barcelona's come up against. Do you know what I mean? In their own league. Obviously they're not going to come up against, they're not going to, every player that comes up against them is not going to be 18 fit, like you come up against in some of the Scottish youth. But, I don't know. I think Scotland's actually, I disagree. I think it's heading towards the right way. I think there's an element, look at the young guys that are coming through. I think the busted flush for Scotland is the fact you've got that Diddy Levine as manager.
But below him, they've actually brought in this guy Vara.
Mm-hmm. Southampton, don't we?
Yeah, so just to bring Richie in on this, where does the truth lie, Richie? Is it with me, or is it with Scott, or is it with somewhere in between?
The truth lies with me. I'll tell you why. No, it was kind of in between, obviously, but I think Scott's right. I don't think you get a lot of young guys coming through, thuggish players right now with Scotland, young guys that are playing for teams. What you do have with guys like Inverness is guys who are second-rate players. And, I'm talking about the tackle Tony Watt, but Tony Watt was just far too quick and sharp for the guy, and the guy dived in. He was a limited player, so that has an effect as well. So you're playing against guys who are up to your level. You're like Tony Watt's a yard too quick for this guy. And it used to be happening. When Stephen McManus played for Celtic in the Champions League, he used to go through people because they were too sharp for him. And we thought, we would applaud it. So, it's not just, it's a difference in ability as well as that, but I think Scotland are bringing through, talented players, but I don't think they're bringing through a load of Ross Tokley's either, guys like that wouldn't, So it lies somewhere in between, I think,
Well, I hope you're right. Just to pick you up then on someone who has absolute football ability, holding together our midfield yesterday was Victor Wanyama.
Aye, well, wax lyrical about him all the time, but his header was a great header, and it was great to see him start another match and score in the first 5 minutes, and especially at Inverness, where the longer the match goes on, anything can happen. So when that was it, the match was finished as soon as Victor put that header in. But he's so dangerous at corners as well, which is another aspect of his game, which is great. And he had a good game, and the whole team were comfortable. Like I say, that goal killed it, and that was it. And then it was on a Tony Watt show really, and the other young boy in midfield.
Well, just before we leave the Inverness match, 4-2. The two really flattered Inverness coming up to the end there.
Yep.
But Scott, just to go back, you mentioned him earlier on, but Mo Bangura, he's a good laugh, isn't he?
I tried my best. To believe in him, and I was tweeting all yous a game in pre-season. I don't know. He's hopeless, man. He's hopeless. I really hope it turns out whenever he gets a game again and he's really, really brilliant, and I want him to do well. He seems like a good laugh and stuff like that. Maybe he should come and have a wee drink with me before games. Make sure he's on the team bus. He looks awful, and we bum up our scouting. Where did they get this guy from? Honest. This guy was keeping Tony Watt out of the team is a wee bit worrying as well. Do you know? I think so. I don't know what's wrong. I really don't know. And I know for a fact Neil Lennon never signed him. I know that for a fact. I don't know.
Just to pick you up on what you've said there now, you've sort of tipped your toe into the water there, saying Lennon didn't sign him. Are there any other players that you're aware of that Lennon didn't sign either?
Big Murphy.
Darryl Murphy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
two guys.
We have two out of our top 4 strikers. Lennon really didn't want their need.
And you think about it, he didn't want Samaras. So, I know he didn't want Samaras and try to sell him. So, fair dues to the big man. He stuck his heels in and he's now became a an important player to the squad.
But not in the position that he thought he should be in.
Of course, no. So, I'm hearing, right? I'm hearing that he wants shot at the pair of them. He didn't sign either one of them. And that's basically it.
And have you had any indication as to the likelihood of either of them being taken out of the team or sent to Coventry or wherever they'll take them?
I don't know. I'm again, Celtic Underground were tweeting as well, and that I'd heard that we'd agreed a deal with Millwall, and Murphy didn't want to go to Millwall. He's set his heart on Ipswich, which is fair dues. I mean, the boy's set his heart on a club that he probably enjoyed playing. That's his prerogative. He's got a contract. I don't criticise him for it. But I feel for Neil Lennon with regards to that, especially when everybody's going to do Wally, because he's trying to use the guys, isn't he? He's trying to get something for them. He's trying to. I mean, you've got a guy sitting there on a wage. You might as well try and use him, but he's no building any support for them, and it'll get to a point where there'll be a backlash. I mean, say we get beaten Bangura. I mean, Bangura comes on yesterday. Tony Watt is standing there. Richie, now think about it, honest to God, now think about it. You look at the difference in Tony Watt when Hooper went half. Do you know what I mean? And Bangura was terrible. I said it before, it breaks your heart watching that.
Did you not laugh? I laughed.
Mate, it's terrible. It's awful.
I laughed. Richie, did you laugh?
No, I didn't. I feel sorry for him. Imagine coming from, he's coming, and that shot he hit. I mean, I couldn't laugh at that. I just felt embarrassed for the guy. And the guy's not a football player. I think we've been had here, we've been conned or something.
Well, somebody had said
that. Him if Len didn't sign him. I know you're going to say we might have signed the wrong guy.
No. I wasn't actually. I read online earlier on that he scored 24 goals in the Swedish League last year. Like, surely the Swedish League couldn't be that. I mean, we've just played Helsinborgs and beat them fairly convincingly away. So surely the Swedish League couldn't be that bad, surely.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he scored 24 goals, Marty. There's no way. I don't see him ever scoring a goal for Celtic.
Well, according to Wikipedia, he scored 32 games and he scored 13 goals for AIK. And the year before, he played 13 games on loan at a Swedish third-tier side and scored 12.
Right. Something funny with this transfer, because that guy, nobody would have scouted him and said, this is the guy for us. Although I think it was John Park, because I remember when he signed and he was in the car talking to Radio Scotland and he was talking about Henrik Larsson. I think the guy, one of the pundits on BBC Scotland said that John Park sat watching him and said, this is the kind of player that Celtic fans will really like. Maybe it means you, Marty, that in fact that it gives you a good belly laugh in the last 10 minutes of the game. But we've been something's went wrong here. I hope we haven't paid £1.5 million for this guy, because that's a lot of money for us.
2.2 million.
I heard it was 2.2, aye. But see the thing, if John Park did sign him, well, do you know what? Fair dues, John, you don't get it all right all the time.
Yes, well, I know that. That was going to be my next point. You can't expect him to have a...
He's done well by us in the past. He's got this one rang. Mr. Law, make it happen. This clear the boy out, pat him in the arse and say thanks. And also, and to go back, we're saying he scored all these goals in the Swedish League. We watched Helsinborgs, and they brought a guy on, and the commentator says, oh, this guy's a hot tip. I don't think he kicked the ball. I don't know. I was like, and you think of that other wee black dude who ran through and allowed Matthews to get back. Any decent striker worth his salt and rattled that in the net. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we're going to come to the Helsingborg game in a minute and look ahead as well to the game this week. But just to settle back on the general issue about scouting and stuff, we're really, really praying now that this week bodies are brought in, aren't we, Richie, to strengthen several areas in the team?
Aye, you've got to hope so. I mean, we're being linked with a few strikers now. I think that agent, in the know guy, who seems to get a wee bit right, he says we're in for John Carew, which I'm not interested in anymore in guys who have been there and done it and have no hunger, and we're going to be paying them decent money, so that would be a big no-no for me. But we definitely need a striker. We need a centre-half. After Helsinborgs, watching Mulgrew and Robin together, I wasn't impressed. I'd like a centre-half in. Kelvin Wilson is up to snuff either. And this guy Henriksen that I hear, a few of the lads are saying that we're definitely interested in him. He sounds like a creative midfielder. So if we got 3 players, I'd be happy. You can always take more, but that's the Celtic we're talking about. So I want 3. I'll be happy with 2 or 1.5. Or I'll take 1, take 2, and get rid of Bangura. That'll do me.
Scott, any other general thoughts on Inverness and staring down the barrel of the game that's coming up this week?
Nah, Inverness took care of itself, didn't it? You went up there, you scored early enough again, and Tony Watt put it to bed, and ultimately, had we not made all the subs at the end, we could have won 5-6. I thought on the day they scored 2 goals, fair dues to them. Unfortunate for Big Fraser not to get a clean sheet, but does us no harm. It's a good win. It's another big trip out of the way.
Keeps us on our toes.
Yeah.
And I suppose we should mention the fans. I thought the fans were exceptional again. I know we set high standards for our away support, but they were very good, Scott, weren't they?
Yep, excellent.
Yeah, good. Well, let's tie this up and we'll move on now to part 2. Okay, folks, welcome back to part 2 of this week's Temporary Stand podcast. I'm still semi-laughing at Mohamed Bangura's effort yesterday, but we're going to have a general chat around the Helsinborgs tie. Scotty, give me your thoughts on the game last week. We sort of cruised it, didn't we, really, after all the bean shitting we did last week?
I disagree with you, mate. I disagree with you. Yes.
Give a go.
You sat there and you said, why's everybody been shitting? And mate, I was being shitting. I was I kid you not, I was at the heat in the hand. Right, don't get me wrong, I'm a kind of reactionary guy. Samaras never crossed the ball first time for a goal. I went half a minute and started screaming at the telly. And then he wallops in and everybody starts laughing at me. Well done, Sammy, right? Their defence was humming. But our mistakes were terrible. These are the mistakes that have been putting us out of Europe. But you're saying we're being shit, but we're lucky. Well, we're lucky they were done. But we're really lucky they were done. Ultimately, we should have won 3 or 4-0. I mean, that the second half, fair dues to Neil Lennon. I know Richie says that he had to bring Forrest on. But I was sitting in the house and I said Forrest would be a great outball, and sure enough, Forrest was a great outball, and it worked for Neil Lennon. And Neil Lennon, if he was sitting beside me, I'd pat him on the back for it. Sammy, he scored a good goal. He should have passed the Commons. We've hit the bar, blah blah blah. First half, my God, it's terrible, man. And as I say, fortunately, they were honky tonk. And
Richie.
And I think that's how Bangura scored 1 million goals in Swedish football, because Swedish football's kick. And Højveld was a star in Swedish football.
Aye, Højveld's getting shown up in the Premiership now. But Marty, I agree with Scott.
Were you shitting your beans, Rich?
Aye. For 60 minutes of that game, I was nearly hiding behind the couch. It was
Really?
Aye. I mean, we were being absolutely pummeled, and we just kept giving the ball away and inviting pressure on ourselves. And every time they came forward, I thought they looked like they were going to score, and they should have. When Samaras scored that goal, it should have been 4-1 to them. I think the Celtic were I thought they were awful after that goal. But I mean, I don't know what happened to them.
But I posted on the huddle at half time telling everybody to calm down. It seemed to me that their chances, they had good chances, but as you're pointing out, they were from sort of individual errors, like Matthews fault out in the wing. But it seemed to me everything else was like long range shots. It didn't really seem to me. I was saying, calm down, we're in the driving seat here. Were you seriously looking through the gaps in your fingers?
Yeah, and I don't think they were all doing individual mistakes. Some of their build-up play was quite nice, and the 2 strikers, one was dropping deep, and then you had Rogna running after the guy that was dropping deep, and that left a midfielder, and nobody was chasing the midfielder. Kyle was all over the place. Scott Brown was atrocious. I could run on about Scott Brown, but I really don't rate the guy. But I thought it was terrible. And then it wasn't just, I mean, Matthews made a mistake. I will let him off with that because he rarely does that, and I don't think he'll do it again. But I mean, there was one time where they played just a long ball, and Charlie Mulgrew did not deal with it, and it went in between the 2 centre halves. The guy was through and goal. I mean, that was just terrible. That was kind of like Dan Mastorovic, Jos Højveld type defending.
Mm-hmm.
But it's clear that there's injury problems in the team. Rogni, Kyle, lately, there's a string of injuries across the team. Samaras too, and it seemed to me that Lennon sort of had to get his top man out there, because if he didn't, he'd have been, and we had lost or drew, he would have drawn criticism. Is that not fair?
Well, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, the players are in the park and they should be playing to the 100%. If the guy's injured but he's fit enough to play, he should play well. I mean, we just kept giving the ball away. We do, panic stations. That's what happened. They put a bit of pressure on us. You're going to give a chance or two away from home. Even the best teams would let Helsinborg have a half chance or a decent chance. But then you get up and you get on with it. But Celtic went to panic stations and they kept giving the ball away. They were all over the place. And like Scott says, I mean, Neil Lennon has taken a lot of credit for the Forest, and fair enough, because he could have replaced Kyle with somebody else. The first 10 minutes of the second half didn't start off too great, and it looked like a Tony Mowbray team to me. It looked like a 4-2-4, and I was expecting it worse, but it worked. We were more dangerous, and Forest, was running riot. And Samaras should have had these. I hope Neil Lennon gave him a bollocken to end all bollockens after the game, because for what he did at the end there, that would have tied up the entire tie.
That's the square ball of the Commons that he
never squared it in Commons. He was a disgrace. I mean,
he's a disgrace.
He was a disgrace for that. He's no disgrace. I'm a fan of Samaras, but that was terrible what he did.
I have to agree. I think he really should have squared it. There was acres of space in front of him, but you wouldn't trust Samaras to actually get it. The Commons, more likely he would bounce it off the defender.
We got it to Commons in the first half and we scored a goal.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing just in general that he seems to go one step forward and 15 steps back sometimes. But Scott, you and Richie seem to be in the Bean Shedders Union here. But looking forward to the game on Wednesday. Surely the Jesus we couldn't give up a 2-0 away goal lead.
No. Well, somebody to ask. I mean, when's the last time you've seen Celtic? It actually comes back to a point Richie was saying, and I'll complete my sentence in a second. I think Celtic fans are quite level-headed to an extent. If you put a team out and your team are beaten by a better team, then there's a hands up, fair dues. That's not been the case in Europe. I mean, we went to Rennes and we had a decent performance. What's the standout moment? A defensive howler. Even Udinese, with a game with a cramped performance, I still think their goal was a shocker to give away. As I remember, it was Chaduri jumped up and I don't know, it was something mental.
Right.
Chaduri were a terrible header.
And you go to Sion, the ball looked not that big doing Mistorovic.
But this was one of my points during the week, and to pick you up exactly on that, I said that if you had changed the colours of the jerseys during the week last week, it was a typical Celtic performance from Helsinborgs.
Yeah.
With a huffed and the puffed, and we did nothing and got 2 goals.
Exactly. No, but I can't believe you're saying, he's all beating shitters because it was only us making mistakes. We've been brought up in Celtic making mistakes. I mean, this is how we get pumped out of Europe constantly. You know what I mean? And I always think Celtic fans, so you think about it, when was the last time Celtic took an absolute pumping at home in Europe? And you're going back to somewhere like Paris Saint-Germain. Remember Paris Saint-Germain came to Celtic Park and gave us a doing and all. We thought we were a decent team, and they came and they just peed all the tappies, and they got around the applause after the pitch.
Yeah, well, we spoke about that a few weeks ago with Pascal about Djorkaeff.
That's right.
They had some amazing football, you know.
I hasten to add though, if you go and watch on the telly, Gordon Marshall on YouTube, Gordon Marshall's a clown shoe, but that's by and by. We knew that.
That goes without saying. Yeah. But sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I think there should be no. We don't need to go chase the ball. We don't need to force it. We play our own football, and we score a goal. The tie is stone dead.
Well, Richie, to bring Richie in there, then, do we start with the 11 that was started with it against Inverness?
No, I don't think so. You need a bit more XP. I wouldn't start. I don't know about Tony Watt. Maybe you could go with Tony Watt, I suppose, if Stokes is it anyway. But
just on that point, we played a couple of weeks ago. We played without a striker. Does it not make more sense to have Watt in the team to nick a goal?
All right, I'll give you Watt. I wouldn't have a problem with him starting. I'd say you'll bring in the more experienced. He'll go back to 4 at the back. And he'll plonk one. Hopefully, he'll plonk Wanyama in front of the centre halves and don't tell him not to move, and then that will cut out. If Wanyama had played on Tuesday night, I don't think we'd have had half the problems we did. Kayal just wasn't up to snuff. I don't know if he's out now. I'd say you have a good point, Marty, about injuries, because maybe he was playing injured anyway, because I say his ankle. I don't think his ankle's been right since since the season began. So I'm not worried.
Lennon was actually saying it's his other fucking ankle. It's not the same ankle that he had the problem with last time either, which is really worrying, you know.
It is worrying for him. I don't know what his career is going to be like at Celtic. It might just be a complete, injury disrupted one. But plonk Wanyama, bring Wanyama back in, plonk him in front of the back four. Don't do it in silly. Don't let through ball. Don't give the ball away at this halfway line. Don't chase strikers all over the pitch. Chase your man. Keep to your man. Do the right things. Last week I said don't make stupid mistakes, and they did it, and they got away with it. But like I've said to you last during the week, we deserved that bit of luck. How many times have we been 100% punished? We got away with nothing. And the amount of times you've seen Rangers when they were about, the amount of mistakes when they went to the UEFA Cup run, the amount of chances that other teams missed and luck they carried, I never remembered us getting any of it, so we deserved it. And, learn from it. And the amount of away games we've won now is pretty good. That's 2 in a row. Europa League last season, away performances were good, so we can get that monkey off our back. And, everybody wants to be in the Champions League to give the season a bit of interest.
I think the crowd will be up for it, Marty, which will just basically carry the team on to make sure the job's done. I think there'll be a decent party atmosphere at the end, because we're all buzzing to get back in the Champions League. We're all really, really buzzing, and there's guys talking to me again, where are we going to go, who do we want, and stuff like that. Let's just go and do it correctly. Doesn't need to be glamorous, just do it, and we'll all be happy, and we'll move on for it.
Do you think it'll be sold out, Scott?
I'm hearing it's not, which surprises me. I must admit, it surprises me. It's no sold out. But I'm not worried about it. If it's sold out, I'll be there.
We'll be there. Richie, I was there against Ajax the first time we qualified for the Champions League, and it was the last 10 minutes of that match was
shit there that day.
Well, aye, but funny that the longer the match went on, though, you sort of felt because the next point was going to be the last 15 minutes. That match was fantastic. It was just everybody knew we were going to be okay.
Yeah, if you're not honestly the guy.
That was brilliant. That was a brilliant sing song. What are you talking about? That was fantastic.
Game we were played after park, and I was
no.
I was sitting in my seat, gripping the sides of my seat the entire game because we were completely played after park, and I thought we were going to get up.
No, but at the end, towards the end of that game, the last 20 minutes or so, the whole ground was absolutely rocking. The Huns were getting beat by Fenerbahce, and that came through as well. So we knew they were going to go out, and it was brilliant. I remember that being really, really special night.
I must drink. I must go to games with you and drink with your drink.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Because
yeah, listen, boys, the worm's turned here. We're doing okay. I'm telling you, we'll be all right this year. Fingers crossed. Jesus, if the draw is good news. But have you anything to add in terms of Wednesday coming? Do you think we're going to get any surprises? Is there any chance of other injuries jumping up? For example, imagine fucking Fraser Foster picked up an injury on training on Tuesday morning.
Imagine that would be no, nothing really to add. Keep like you say. Foster's a massive player for us now, massive player. He's improved tenfold since he started. No, I think do the right things. Don't do anything stupid. We don't need to go and win the game. Let them come at us and prove we can. They're vulnerable to the break and score a goal that way and end the tie and have a party.
Here.
See that Ajax team? Now you're talking about it. Yakubu, Nikos Maklas, Arveladze, Van der Vaart, and Shivu, and they brought on Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
Just look at this, man. If you're not, he's honestly, what the same Ram Douglas was making last minute saves. No,
we had a 2-goal cushion at the start of the game. It was 3-1 going in there. I know. They scored. What did they score about the 30th minute? About half an hour.
Scored early enough in the first half.
It was in the middle of the first half, and I think O'Neill brought on Moravcik as well halfway through the second half to sort of suck a ball. So I don't think damn good game.
Steve Guppy, really.
Who?
Steve Guppy.
Steve Guppy's a good player. I like Steve Guppy. But anyway, we digress. Going back to Tuesday or to Wednesday, Scott. Fraser Foster 2 million, Mohamed Bangura 2 million. I see Hodgson has been forced, I suppose, to make some sort of comment on Foster and the England squad.
I'm delighted with Fraser Foster. He was a guy I never. There's no way of proving it because I don't think I wrote it down or says it to anybody. But I like Fraser Foster the first season. The only thing I get criticism for was a bad kick out against the ex-Huns. And that was one everybody was attacking him for. And I was sitting going, wait a minute, the guy's not making big mistakes. He's not costing us games. At that point, he wasn't winning his games. He was just a steady keeper. And I'm going, I'm liking it. Last season, he built all, and to be honest, £2 million a big outlay for a club like Celtic. The way we are now, £2 million an outlay. And I had a couple of cunt buns, or ex-cunt buns, I don't know how you call their fans now, but a couple
zombies.
Zombies, sorry. A couple of people on Twitter after going, through tinted spectacles and stuff, how do you think the game went? And I says, we spent £2 million on a keeper, the £2 million keeper come up trumps. And that's what he did against Helsinborgs. I'm delighted to have him. I've now given him the kiss of death. He've dropped the ball 4 times on Tuesday, Wednesday. See what I mean? But I'm loving Fraser Foster. And with regards England, see if England keep biting at him, but don't like tip the water. Don't stick him in and he drop. Like, do you remember Alan Thompson?
Thompson, yeah.
It was there for years and years. Thompson was good enough. Thompson was good enough for England. That's no kidding. And they stuck him in and he had a half a bad game and he was point proven. England, Scottish football's pumped. You know what I mean? Get him out. And we all know Sutton would have been perfect for that England team. He would have been perfect for it. But, and I like the fact, I hope Fraser Foster doesn't, no for him. I wish all the best to him, because I always want England to beat anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
But Fraser, see if they keep nibbling away, it keeps his interest high. It keeps his stock high. English top clubs. And see, to be honest, somebody comes in a year's time and offers you £5-6 million for a keeper. If there's another keeper in our grass, another keeper there, then you've made a wad of money, and I wouldn't suggest that he's on mega dough either. But I like him. I really do like the guy.
Richie, on that point, if I suppose if people come in and poach him because he's doing well, it took us fucking long enough to get him in the first place. It's 3 seasons we've been sort of picking him.
Neil deserves credit for that.
Well, Richie, what's your thoughts on Forster?
I agree with Scott. On Tuesday night, I think he was a big part of the fact that we kept it together, because he seemed calmness personified from what I saw him. He wasn't panicking. He collected every cross ball that I remember, and he made some great saves. So I wasn't. Scott saying he loved him he liked him, he rated him, from the beginning. I wasn't too sure about him, but the last 9 months he's just improved leaps and bounds, and I'm surprised. I think I said I wouldn't expect loads of English teams to come in for him, but if you look how good he is, his build, his age, all those kind of things, you're surprised that. I mean, you see guys like QPR sign Robert Green. Why didn't they sign Fraser Foster? I'll try to sign him, but we're glad to have him. I couldn't care about monkeys about playing for England. Joe Hart's got the jersey anyway, so he'd really be a pickup. But I mean, I don't really care. I'm not going to be joining in. I know none of you are either joining in the kind of Foster for England shouts or anything like that. Who cares?
No, definitely not.
But see with regards English teams coming and getting Scottish players, see, because of the money these guys got, they can go. It was a statement I made. See, you were talking about the Hibs players earlier on, Marty. See the Hibs players. I always say, see a guy like Fletcher, even Scott Brown, Thompson. When these guys were at the floor for their club, I think it was Dnipro attempted to sign them. And I said that would be a great move. You let them go up there, develop as players, and then we get them back. We can't be spending £4 million. We've done it with Scott Brown, but I don't think we can be spending £4 million on guys who can't perform for Celtic straight away. That's where English clubs have got the benefit. They can look at Arsenal. Everybody talks about Arsenal's youth team. They signed Adebayor for like £13 million. They put him in reserve for 2 years and brought him in. Everybody's going, oh, this young guy Adebayor. You're going £13 million bloody pound. You know what I mean?
And 16 million on Theo Walcott.
Exactly. And the Chamberlain boy, he was like 8 million with another. They can sign Fraser Foster for like 6 million and stick him in the reserves for 3 years and then bring him out and everybody goes, oh, look at the youth team and that. You know what I mean?
No, it's a very, very fair point. And as you say earlier on, that if Foster continues to play at the level he's playing at, really, he will attract other offers, and he won't leave Celtic for 2 million. the way things are going. It'll
The only
be
worry, Marty,
multiples of.
the only worry is the Arthur Boric thing. The only worry, Arthur Boric came to Celtic, fantastic keeper, and his whole life slipped out. You'd remember it more than Richie probably. Do you remember when Poland played the Occupied Six International?
Yeah. And he was absolutely
Remember,
brutal.
he had white, big
Jesus
belly,
Christ.
he had white stuff at the side of his mouth, and he gave away a goal in the whole and that was it. When I sat there watching that night, going, this boy's done. This boy's done. This boy's got the drive in him, man.
No,
And that would be your worry about Fraser Foster. He's always got to have that drive. And maybe if he doesn't get the call up for England, maybe that's the thing that'll keep pushing him to get better and keep himself fit.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Right, well, I'm going to pull the curtain down on that part of the podcast and move on now to part 3. Okay, by my reckoning, I think with 5 days left of the transfer window, we have done very little so far. Fraser Foster being the keenest bit of business that we've done. But game on Wednesday night gives us 2 days before the transfer window closes. Richie, have you any sort of thoughts about anybody who's going to be coming in? Do you think Lawwell will release the hounds in terms of the transfer market, or are we just stuck with what we have really?
You have to imagine if we get through the Champions League and all the revenues that's going to bring in for us, that we have to sign a couple of players. You have to imagine that we've got guys who are lined up and we are saying, look, if you're still available and we get the Champions League, we'll sign you. We're hearing that Lennon wants Henriksen, and you'd hope that that's a done deal if we get through the Champions League. But if you leave it so late, what are you going to get? I'm just worried about us ending up with loan players or John Carew. I mean, just guys like that who don't care, who are just up for the last paycheck. That never works. We should learn our lessons for, that's happened in the last 3 or 4 years. We've signed guys who used to be able to do it. And then, John Carew hasn't done it for about 5 or 6 years. So, no, I don't have really any, like we said last week, it's Celtic, if you have any expectations, you're liable to be disappointed. So, if we get 1 or 2 in, then, I won't be happy, but let's get on with it. What are you going to do?
Scott, we spoke during the week about money, about the fact that if we do get negotiate the next round of the qualifier here, we're guaranteed about 15 million. Then you lap on season ticket sales on top of that. Champions League ticket sales on top of that. You're then looking at money coming in for Ki-Sung Young. And you actually raised a very, very interesting point that I'd forgotten about. An extra £20 ahead on the season tickets this year. It's no mean amount of skin, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But we're still kind of going to the whole propaganda that the world is collapsing and we have no money to pay in this pot. But I don't know. I'm no a financial end, to be perfectly honest. If I go and look at my bank account, it'll prove it. I have no financial head on me whatsoever. But we've got to support the manager. There's got to be some sort of investment. If Celtic, after receiving money for Ki-Sung Young, service the debt, I appreciate that. If Celtic are maybe, I think somebody gave me figures. It was like 174 grand a week. Is that right? 174 grand a week we're saving on wages?
74.
74.
So far, but that was before we sold Key.
So 74 grand, right? And even
it's about 4 million a year.
Right, exactly. And then they've stuck up the season tickets. We're missing it, sure. We've got to back the manager here. For what I'm led to believe, right? People are saying, Neil playing at coy. I've heard that Neil Lennon isn't playing at coy. Neil Lennon, if he could have signed somebody, would have signed somebody. And the man at the top with the purse strings is saying, we'll see if we get in the Champions League. So now he's said, put up or shut up, and Neil Lennon's put up this batty guy. For what I'm led to believe, Neil Lennon wants a defender, he wants a left winger, he really wants the boy, is it Henriksen, Richie? Henriksen?
Yeah.
And he would like his own centre forward. That's why I hear. I think getting 4 players in would be very, very optimistic. Last week, Marty, we spoke about it, I don't know many times, a really top-notch centre-half would lift the whole club. It would lift the players, it would lift Neil Lennon, it would lift me and you, and it would lift everybody who troops up to Inverness and Ross County, and God bless the boys for doing that. With regards a forward, Tony Watt's covering the new. Incidentally, I would play Tony Watt on Wednesday, but Tony Watt's covering the new, so your eyes kind of off the ball with regards to that. Brings in a centre half nearly. I know he's wanting a left winger. He's wanting a left winger to match Forrest on the other side. He wants somebody similar to Forrest, somebody who you're going to give the body, and the pressure's going to stay off you because this guy's good enough to keep hold of the ball. Whether he gets him, mate, my guess is exactly the same as yours. I mean, you say we've got 2 days. When does the thing finish? Does it shut?
31st.
Does it shut on 31st start?
Yeah.
11 p.m.
Which is next Friday. Sort of five full days time next Friday night. So
Friday
we'll qualify on Wednesday night. You've got Thursday and Friday. Lennon said in his interview yesterday he expects Thursday and Friday to be busy days.
Well, Thursday is going to be sitting in Monaco, as you know.
But it does, it's not up to Lennon who he signs. He tells them who to go and get. But my point, Lennon doesn't need to be there. He just sends the money men out to make the deal with the agents and all that sort of stuff. But my point is that, he's saying that those 2 days are going to be busy days. But to go back on Richie's point, is it going to be a John Carew day or is it going to be a Henriksen day? Is it going to be the players you want or is it going to be the players, last guy on the playground, so you've got to take him?
I would personally think if he gets one that he wants, if he gets the boy Henriksen, I think Neil Lennon would be happy. I really do. I think if he gets in a guy that he wants, he'll be happy. If he ends up with, as you say, a couple of free transfers and a couple of loans because they couldn't get into the 25 of an English Premier club, it's 50-50 again. Do you know what I mean? We all hope and pray.
Richie, would you take those loose end players, or would you not waste any money at all and just go with who you have and have a look again in January?
I would rather, give the guys who are here a chance rather than give guys who are just looking for a last payday and don't really care about Celtic and aren't really buying in or going to be a long-term part of the project. Neil Lennon's trying to build. So, no, I would only sign players who are long-term, who are going to fit in with the way we play the system, and Lennon's building something rather than a sticking plaster until next season where we go through the exact same thing. So no, I wouldn't be into signing John Carew, Zigic or any of those guys. It's a waste of time, waste of money.
What about the likes of Johnny Russell? We had a John Daly debate here a couple of months ago. We wouldn't be in favour of Daly, but somebody like a Johnny Russell, would you throw Dundee United a bone?
No, there's no SPL player I think is good enough for Celtic. There's none of them I can think of at the moment. Certainly not Johnny Russell. I mean, he scores a goal against Dundee, brilliant. They get hammered 3-1 against Kilmarnock on Saturday. Didn't hear much about him then. You hear somebody made a point. I don't know who it was talking about. I think it might be you, Scott. You were talking to a Dundee player, was it?
Yeah,
a Dundee supporter.
Yep.
And the guy was saying, you think these guys are good. You see a highlight them scoring maybe 6 good goals in a season. What about the other 30 games? They're not good enough, or they don't have very good games, they're not consistent enough, they're not good enough. That's why they play for Dundee United, because they're not good enough for Celtic. There's no player in Scotland that you can tell a good player in the SPL, he sticks it, he plays well against us. Anthony Stokes was a cut above, he was good enough to play for Celtic when he was playing for Falkirk. You can tell this guy's got a bit of something about him. Johnny Russell's never impressed me, so no, not good enough. John Daly, not good enough. Can't think anybody I'd sign, so no. Look to the continent or bring through or play Twarzik or what, or Jackson Irvine or somebody like that.
Same with you, Scott?
Yep.
Alright, well, let's boom, there's your dinner. Let's pull this to a close, because I think we've talked enough. This is going to be a very interesting week no matter what happens, I suppose, with the transfer window and with the Helsinborgs game coming up. So our chat next week when the window closes, I think we'll be much better informed, and some of those, I suppose, yarns that we've been hearing over the last week, we could maybe go into them in a bit more detail and have a look ahead to see where we're going over the next 6 months, particularly if we do manage to sellotape ourselves into the Champions League. I think we're going to be in for a pretty interesting time. So I suppose the only other thing that's left to do is to thank you both very much. Before I do that, I just want to congratulate everybody involved in the Celtic Grave Society. I saw the stuff on the net today about the Brother Walford commemoration, in Dumfries today, and it looked like an absolutely brilliant event. I can't wait to see the footage of it, and Terry Dick doing his usual roundup of the man's life. Fair play to the lads. They do a hell of a lot of work, and it just goes to prove that we have a fan base that actually gives a shit about our history, unlike other people who we didn't mention at all today, I don't think. So, Scotty, thank you very much for joining us.
They drew one each for the real Rangers.
Who's there?
Sevco. They drew one each for the real Rangers.
Sevco.
I saw it on Twitter. Absolute great line. At one point, Rangers were arguably the best team in Scotland. Now they're not. Now they're arguably not even the best Rangers. Yes.
Well,
yes.
You saw I don't know, Richie. I don't know if either of you have saw the goal that was disallowed. Have you?
Oh, I saw it. Even I had a wee juke on fall after it. I only go in there obviously when they're crying. And they were all saying, apart from sticking the knife into McCoist, they were all saying, even they were saying that they don't know why it was disallowed. But I saw it was that with the novelty will soon wear off. They were all jumping about daft during that game, but there's only so many one each draws you can take on a Sunday morning against the likes of Berwick Rangers before it all comes crumbling down. Who cares? They're dead.
Real Madrid give you as well. Ha!
I noticed that.
Good. But Scott, I was just going to come back to you on that point about Sevco, because it actually seems to be like it's a bit of a mirror image of last season, where they're beating teams at home but can't win away, even though they're in the fourth tier.
Different clubs than we were talking about last season, mate.
Sorry, yeah. They
don't do winning away. I'm not claiming that one. I saw it on Twitter. Some guy, whoever it was. Fair play.
Very good. Very, very good. Well, lads, listen, look, Scott, thanks very much for joining us tonight, okay?
Do, mate. Thank you very much.
And Richie, good night and God bless.
Hail, hail.
If you made it this far, well done. Hope it wasn't too much of a chore. As the international break looms in us all, just for your info, we'll have a couple of wee interviews lined up to supplement the usual pods. As always, you can get all the pods by subscribing on the Hail Hail Media on iTunes. Download our streams from the Hail Hail Media section on Spreaker and from www.hailhailmedia.com. And speaking of which, you can see our new site, which has been expertly updated by Josh at the Paradise Preview. Any reviews welcome. You can give us any feedback on the usual message boards on Twitter @Tempestan, through the email tempestan@hailhailmedia.com, and all feedback is welcome and encouraged, good or bad. So thanks for taking the time to download and listen. Once again, come on to Celtic, no wee slip ups on Wednesday, we're all back in the Champions League. So good night, God bless, hail hail.